My grandfather was a survivor of the Titanic. I now know the horrifying reason it sank. Whenever I asked my grandfather what happened on the Titanic, he'd start panicking and shout at me, telling me never to bring it up again. I'd never seen him act like that before. It was like he was scared of something. I figured it was just PTSD, but I would soon find out that the real reason was so much more horrifying. The first time I asked, with his hands violently shaking and his voice cracking, he made me promise never to tell anyone that he survived. He was worried people might think he was crazy. I sat there dumbfounded as he started telling the story. I was only 7 years old when I climbed on board the Titanic. It seemed so gigantic compared to me, and I was struck by how beautiful everything looked. It was one of the happiest moments in my life, as I had never felt such exhilaration. Despite how happy I was, however, deep down I couldn't lose this feeling that something about the Titanic was horribly wrong. The second day is when things started to go wrong. I began to notice some strange behavior from some of the other passengers on board the Titanic. They seemed to be coughing a lot and their eyes were very red. My father assured me that it was nothing, but I can remember how frightened he looked. He left for a few minutes and came back carrying a wrench and told me it was just for protection. I was awoken the next morning by screams coming from the next room. I jumped out of bed and rushed to see what was happening. There was already a group of people standing outside the door, and I pushed them out of the way to get a better view. I froze while staring at the contents of the room. There was a man lying on the floor with his stomach ripped open while his 2 young children seemed to be feasting on his intestines. I was shoved out of the way as 2 of the crew rushed in. They grabbed the children and struggled to hold them, as the children were like rabid animals. They managed to subdue the children by knocking them out cold. We were ushered back to our rooms so that they could clean up the mess. I wandered the ship for the day and noticed that a lot of people seemed to be very sick. The crew told everyone that the sickness spreading around had nothing to do with the cannibalism that was happening, and that there was no need to panic. They were so wrong. I was awoken on the 4th day by screams and running from outside the cabin. I peeked outside and was shocked as the hallway was covered in blood and bodies were spread out throughout the floor. I quickly closed the door and went to wake my parents, but I noticed they were missing. I didn't know what to do, as I was afraid to leave the room, but was afraid to be by myself. My rumbling stomach finally convinced me that I needed to leave and find some food. I crept to the door and peeked out and was relieved to find the hall empty. There were distant sounds of the engines rumbling and the occasional scream. I remembered that there was a kitchen down the hallway which would probably have something in it I could eat. It took an eternity for me to move down the corridor, as I was trying to avoid stepping in blood or blood-stained clothes. I reached the kitchen and almost puked while gazing at the corpses inside. They looked like someone had stabbed them hundreds of times. They appeared to be a mixture of crew members and passengers. I grabbed any food that was close at hand and fled. I quickly